Hello friends and foes of Middle-earth, and welcome once again. Let's start with the second teaser, or sneak peek as the video is called. We get to see the tower again that we also saw in the Empire magazine. I'm not sure where this is meant to be, but it better not be outside the west gate of Moria, as the lake wasn't there in the second age. And then we have Zadok Burrows, a made up half-foot. I think I've given plenty of negatives for this already, including that wig. He appears to be looking at some maps, so I guess he will be the one leading the half-foots around in Middle-earth. And then the meteor appears. And that seems to be way more important in the show than I first feared. Some think it will be a wizard, others that it will be Sauron. One of the leaks from Fellowship of Fans claims that the stranger, or meteor man, will harm the half-foots. So I guess it will be an evil character. I really dislike the idea of this character arriving in a meteor, but I've already given a negative. And then we have this, Galadriel and some other elves sailing. I suppose the birds are meant to represent the swans we know from the lore, but I could be mistaken. In any case, I think they look extremely fake, so I'll give a personal negative just for that. Prince Durin IV. Some claim that the runes say deathless, like Durin the Deathless, but I won't give a point for it. And then we have Elrond and Gil-galad, walking in the moonlight in Lindon. That tree seems to appear several times, so I guess it will be an important location. Seems a little boring to me, especially if we compare it to the location of Rivendell from The Lord of the Rings. Elrond and Celebrimbor here, apparently also looking at the meteor. I'm sorry, but are all these characters meant to be seeing the meteor flying across the sky at the same time, different places in Middle-earth? Or is it just some weird editing for the teaser? It better be. And Bronwyn and Arondir. Arondir looks a bit old here, but no points though. And Miriel, don't worry. We will talk more about her in the next article. And, as I mentioned in the last part, feel free to check it out if you haven't already. And female Frodo. Oh no, sorry. Nori. Oh no. Sorry. Eleanor, the half-foot with an elvish name, and old twigs in her hair. And the meteor man lands near her. Not that interesting for a teaser, but let's move on to something that can give a lore expert a heart attack. The article about the Númenoreans. The Fellowship of Fans shared some disturbing leaks about the Númenoreans before the article, and I honestly thought it was a joke, but no, it's true and actually slightly worse than I thought. So get ready to see the negative lore score glow red. Let's start with the sitcom image. At the left side we have Kemen, a new character that is the son of Pharazon. That is of course lore inaccurate. First, he didn't have a son, and secondly, he was married to Miriel. So I'll give one negative point for that. Miriel. Oh lord. We'll get back to her. There's a bunch more to say. And then we have Discount Santa. Oh, sorry, Pharazon. Okay, first off, he is described as the advisor to Green Regent Miriel. Perhaps he served as an advisor at some point, but he was clearly much more than that. So, negative lore score. And then his age. Pharazon was actually rather young when he became ar-pharazon. So, another negative for making him too old. I think his costume is one of the better looking ones, and I've said that since I saw the first poster with him. So I'll give a personal positive just for that. And Elendil's armor. I can't figure out why it looks so bad. Is it too short? Or does it look like it's made out of plastic? Well, a personal negative. And then to one of the more surprising lore inaccuracies, Númenoreans aren't meant to have beards, as mentioned in The Nature of Middle-earth. It's not something I personally mind, but the lore disagrees with me here. So, a negative lore point for that. Next to Elendil, we have his daughter. What? Early on, we got to know her as Kareen, but the actual character name is Erin, which of course is way better. Early on, Tolkien wrote about a son of Elendil called Herendil. He befriended a Númenorian girl, Elmariel, and I actually thought that they would base her on this character, but Elmariel had shining golden hair, so there's absolutely no connection at all. Herendil's role was later replaced by Isildur, by the way, so that's why I thought perhaps there was a hope for that. Anyway, it deserves a negative lore score. Elendil did not have a daughter. Many of you have been wondering where Anarion is, but it appears he will be off-screen for the first season. Feels like an odd choice, but fair enough. Then we have Isildur. I don't have anything to say about him here really, but he apparently is a sailor early on in the show, while in lore he was a noble from Andunye. I'm not sure if they will remove that entire background, but I won't give a negative lore score just yet. And just to mention this again, Ar-Menelaus was not a coastal capital. They better not be doing that. And then we get this. Miriel apparently before she became ruling queen. That armor is without doubt the worst I've ever seen. What is this? T-shirt armor?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Oh, come on. That deserves a double negative. Honestly, that's terrible. I really like the sword though, so a personal positive. The armor for the horse looks rather clumsy, and it doesn't seem like it fits as intended, so I'll give a negative for that. And then once more back to a controversial topic. The skin color of Miriel is inaccurate. She's described as fairer than silver, or ivory, or pearls. I hope you can guess her actual skin color based on that. So I have to give a negative lore score once again. I do actually think that this show will flop big time. The first half of season 1 will likely be the peak for its popularity, but I think many fans will find it boring and so far removed from Tolkien that it's uncertain what it is. Generic fantasy perhaps? I'll let you judge that. Am I the only one that thinks Isildur looks like the psychopath from No Country for Old Men? Anyway, there's not much to add to this. I'm curious to see what they will do with his character and the 3 friends they have added to him. Montamo and Nolian is made up names, but Valandil is actually the name that Isildur gave his youngest son. I'm curious if this will be a coincidence or if he will save Isildur in the show. The Rings of Power isn't a direct adaptation of an existing Tolkien novel.
You're goddamn right.
Instead, it's inspired by the author's extensive notes published in the appendices in The Lord of the Rings. Sorry, but I wouldn't really call the appendices in The Lord of the Rings for notes. It sounds like it's a bunch of stuff scraped together and thrown in. Tolkien added these specific parts, but left out a ton of actual notes. And those notes would later become other Tolkien books, thanks to his son Christopher Tolkien. I won't give a personal negative, but I'm so damn close. How is this even allowed to appear? Shouldn't it say inspired by Tolkien instead? Despite their relative inexperience, Payne and McKay were lifelong Tolkien geeks. Sorry, but I find that a bit laughable when they get so much wrong and don't even seem to have read the books. And then we have Galadriel and Elendil riding on a beach somewhere in Númenor. Of course, Galadriel never visited Númenor, so a negative lore score for this. Is that an albino horse? Is that even a thing? This image gives me the vibes that Elendil is some dumb human, and Galadriel will be the one that opens his eyes for the truth. The dialogue from the main trailer also gives me those vibes.
The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
That is pretty much the opposite of what is true. Elendil was a loyal member of the Faithful that kept contact with the elves. He was not some black Numenorean that had to be persuaded. I have to give a negative lore score. Perhaps I'll be wrong, but time will tell. And then another issue. There was a rumor or leak quite some time ago, and I think it was from Fellowship of Fans, so it might be right. The rumor said that Galadriel and Elendil will have an affair of some sort. Of course, this is lore inaccurate in several ways. First off, Elendil had a wife, though her name is unknown. And Galadriel was also married to Celeborn, who is not mentioned at all in the show so far. And thirdly, an elf would never engage in an affair. I have no clue if this rumor is true, but this image reminded me of it. But let's wait with the negative lore score for now. The island of Númenor is ruled by the Queen Regent Miriel. Miriel was actually never a ruling queen, and she wasn't ruling in her father's stead, as far as we know. Speaking of her father, why is Tar-Palantir not mentioned? Oh well, perhaps he's off screen with an Aryan and having an affair with someone, perhaps even him. Or something else very lore inaccurate. Anyway, the showrunners note that Tolkien never wanted his stories to directly echo real-world politics, and they feel the same way about the Rings of Power.
Liar!
Still, Payne points out, there's something deeply relatable and timely about the anxieties and political divisiveness racking this fictional island. I'll give a personal negative, because clearly they are putting politics into this. Yay! Santa Claus again. It should be even more apparent that he will be rather old already in season 1. For some reason he strikes me as the opposite of what I recall from the books. And wait, hold on. Muriel is actually 1 year older than her cousin, so a negative lore score for the age. And likewise, I doubt they will be cousins in the show, and if they are, it will just be even more ridiculous. So another negative. When we see these epic statues and this wonderful masonry, you're walking through the mind of a person that's burdened by his own mortality and is very concerned about what legacy he's going to leave behind. Again, this pretty much confirms that Pharazon's character development is already too far ahead in Season 1. That's got to be one of the biggest disappointments so far. So a personal negative. Fortunately, Númenor also has hopeful allies like the seafaring Elendil and his son Isildur. Wait, what? Allies?
That doesn't make sense.
Well, they are nobles from Andúnie, and since Amandil likely won't be in the show, it means Elendil is the Lord of Andúnie. So, what are they talking about? I hope this is just a mistake by the writer of the article, but it deserves a negative lore score for now. And then this image. What on earth? So we can see that the leak about the Númenorian army is correct. Half the soldiers are female. First I have to give a personal negative, because that is dumb beyond what should be legally allowed. And then to the lore. In the Unfinished Tales, we hear that the women of Númenor are not fighters, hate sailing, and mainly remain on Númenor, which was peaceful, at least until Sauron arrived. So a negative lore score once again. And let's stay with the leaks. Apparently the Númenorians won't have a real fleet, which is the opposite of the lore, so another negative. And then there's a focus on cavalry. Wow, yeah, that makes sense when you are on an island with no enemies. Very useful. There's a bit of lore about Númenoreans using horses. They did indeed breed them on Númenor and had a special bond to them. But at the same time we get this from the Unfinished Tales. They did not use them in war, but all their wars were overseas. And also this. I think it should be quite clear that they won't follow the law here. So another negative lore score. Oh, and that helmet design. It reminds me about the behind the scenes from The Return of the King, where they talk about how long it took to actually design the helmet for the Fountain Guards, because they didn't want it to look ridiculous. So a personal negative, because this looks ridiculous. And speaking of helmets, nose guards that doesn't protect the nose. I'm sorry, but did they hire a toddler to design these armors, or what is going on? Another personal negative. This show clearly has a fetish for architects and politicians. It appears to be the only two things you can be in Middle-earth at this point, but... And then the actress that plays Muriel has a thing or two to say about the diversity of the show. I honestly don't believe she has ever read anything Tolkien wrote, so it feels odd she's trying to sound like a Tolkien expert when she's clearly not. As I've mentioned in the previous part, Tolkien did not want Middle-earth to reflect the modern world in any way. The showrunners also hope that hardcore Tolkien fans will like the show. Honestly, I'd say the show is pretty anti-Tolkien, so a fan of both would have to accept that being the case. Of course, following the law doesn't ensure it will be a good show. I think Shadow of War is a fine example of something good that wasn't law accurate. And likewise, something can be bad, even if it did follow the law. I would say the Rings of Power have more issues than just the law though. The forced politics, the terrible costumes, and overuse of CGI. Likewise, I don't have much hope in the showrunners that barely have any experience. I don't think the plot will be very good, but I think you guys should judge yourself. My excitement for the show died long ago. I won't be covering each episode as I had first intended. I simply can't be bothered. But I'll likely share my opinion when season 1 is over. And then we have Galadriel. Some have speculated that this might be a flashback from Dagor Bragollach, the Battle of Sudden Flame, and it does look a bit like Ash on her, but honestly at this point I find it far more likely that this is some made-up battle. And let's have a look at the cover for the magazine. There's not much new to say here, except Elendil doesn't wear his chest plate here. If Muriel is indeed the ruler of Númenor, she should be holding the scepter that was the most important heirloom of the kings and queens of Númenor. Perhaps we will see it in a later image. If not, it deserves a negative lore score. But let's wait for now. Lastly, we'll go through the article about Galadriel and Halbrand. The article mainly shows images from some of the first scenes we'll see. Galadriel and Halbrand on a raft. Some think Halbrand is Sauron, and others think they will have an affair. Both would of course be very law inaccurate, but I've already given points. I guess we finally know where at least some of the money went, as they had to fill up 2 tanks of water to shoot this scene. It will appear in episode 1 and 2. So if you're actually looking forward to this show, I guess you will look forward to this as well. And now we know why they needed an instructor. Because there's going to be nudity in this in some form at least. Not very Tolkien-like, so give a personal negative, and pray to all the Valar that they won't turn the entire show into Game of Thrones. There's not much else to say about the article. I guess Isildur or Elendil would be the ones that find Galadriel and Halbrand out in the Sundering Seas, and then brings them to Númenor. In the next episode we'll go through the main trailer, and after that the newest trailer, and that will be the last episode. As always, thank you for watching. Now you can also become a member of the channel and support me in creating even more videos and ordering custom Tolkien artworks by highly talented artists. Click on join below for more. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as well. It helps more than you know. Farewell till next time.